So I would love to talk to you today about buying new construction. And I'm not talking about the new construction like buying a lot, hiring your own builder, hiring an architect, designing a home. That's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about buying pre-construction in a planned neighborhood where some developers have gone in and bought the land, and the builders it could be one builder, it could be several builders. They're building these neighborhoods. They have the floor plans already pre-done. They have upgrades that you can do to these floor plans. They have the lots already mapped out on the plans. So you just go in and see if you like what they're building, if you like the amenities in the neighborhood, if you like the lots that they have, and then you go through the process of buying a pre-construction home. And it is so much fun, and there's so many great reasons to do that, especially in Florida. So today I'm going to give you some tips on things you should do and things to think about when you're going to buy pre-construction here in Florida, especially on the Emerald Coast. So I'm Debbie Woolley with Woolley Luxury Properties, and we do everything Destin to 30A. So all the homes in the condos and the pre-construction, that is our neighborhood, Destin to 30A, and we absolutely love it. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, touch the little bell so you'll be notified every time I make another video. So let's get started with pre-construction. I'm so excited to talk about this today. I'm especially fired up because we've just contracted to build new construction in a neighborhood called Nature Walk at Watersound Origins. Now, Watersound Origins is also a new construction development, and Nature Walk is just one of the neighborhoods in it. So this is all happening down at the north of 30A and north of 98 at the intersection of 30A and 98 where 30 Avenue complex is being built. It is fantastic, and I can't wait to share a whole video series on building this house in Nature Walk at Watersound Origins. But in the meantime, let's just talk in general about new construction, because we have new construction happening all down here from Destin to 30A, different neighborhoods, different builders, different things, and I just wanted to share some tips that I've learned along the way from selling new construction, helping buyers buy new construction. It is very, very different than buying a resale home, like a home that someone's lived in and then they put it on the market and you buy it. Very different process. Everything about it is very, very different. So the number one thing I'm going to tell you today that you should do if you're going to look at buying new construction is find an experienced realtor that knows how to navigate new construction. So they need to have done it before. You don't want to be their first person to take them through that process, so you're both learning at the same time. It's very important that you find someone who knows what they're doing. And if you can find a real estate agent that has experience with new construction and is also helping others in that specific neighborhood you're interested in, or has been through the process themselves, that's even better. So one of the things that you definitely want to do is have your own buyer's agent. Now think about it. The developer has on-site agents there at the model homes or at the office, and those agents work for the contractor. That is who they're working for. So whoever's building that house, those agents are working for them. Now they're wonderful. They've got great experience. They know the development inside and out. All of that is available to you, but you want your own representation. You want somebody to represent you. And if you think about it, it's already built into the price. The developer has built this into the price of the base price of the home. So it's not like they're going to discount the price of the home because you don't have a buyer's agent. It's just that you may not be able to navigate all of the contracts and all. I mean, of course you could navigate them. I'm not saying you can't, but it's totally different. They're totally different contracts than a normal residential contracts. So it really is important to have somebody with experience to help you through this. But if you're building from out of town, so a lot of the people I help, they live in Nashville or Birmingham or Atlanta, and they are building a second home here. And so I'm their boots on the ground. I can go see what they're doing. So wherever you are in Florida, it doesn't matter if you're in Miami, find yourself a good buyer's agent, because it will help you tremendously in the process. And if they have experience, it can really save you some money as well. well. Speaking of money, let's talk about the contractor price. So one of the things that happens with new construction in these neighborhoods is you'll see these signs up in the front of the neighborhood and it'll say, starting at $800,000. Well, right, that is exactly what's happening. It's starting at $800,000. So not to scare you away or to imply that someone's being deceitful, but the way new construction works is they advertise the base price of their homes. So the lowest priced home in the neighborhood is going to be what they put on that sign, and it's going to be considered what we consider base price. Base price is the floor plan that you choose will have a base price published on it, and that is strictly the base price of that floor plan with the finishes that they will explain to you. And those are predetermined finishes. All of that is already done. So there's several things that affect the price of that home. So if it's an $800,000 home, the first thing you're going to have when you get ready to go into the process is you're going to have to choose a lot. So the lot is going to most likely, not all 100% of the time, but 98% of the time, the lot is going to have a premium associated with it. So if it's a corner lot, or if it's a lot on the lake, or if it's this lot or that lot, bigger, pie-shaped, whatever it is, the builder has taken that into consideration and he's put a price tag on the premium on that lot. So when you choose your lots, some of them may be $50,000 more and some of them may be $100,000 more. It just depends on the neighborhood and what the premium lots, what the value of those premium lots are. So you've got your base price and now you have your lot premium. The next thing that will influence the price of that home is structural upgrades. So even though I've told you that they have a floor plan, they may say, we've got 7 different floor plans you can choose from. Each of those floor plans are going to have structural options that they can do to the floor plan. So they're not just going to let you add a whole wing to the house, but they will say, if you want to add a fireplace, we can do that for $5,000. If you want to add a freestanding tub in the master because you only have a walk-in, that'll be $8,000. And all of these things are called structural upgrades, and they will determine those and they'll have a list of those for you. These are the things that we can do. Sometimes they can extend things like the size of the lanai, sometimes they can extend the size of the garage. There's just different things they can do, but they will have a price tag attached to each of those structural upgrades. So when you sit down to go under contract, you'll choose your floor plan, you'll choose your lot, and then you'll choose your structural upgrades. And at that point, you will put your deposit down to go under contract with that builder. So usually it's anywhere between 10 and 20% of the base price, lot premium, and structural upgrades, and that is your deposit. And the cool thing about this is that is the money you pay when you go under contract. That 20%, say it's 20%, but you may not close on the house for another 12 months. So there is a very strong chance that you could build some really nice equity into that home before you even close. So if the price of housing this is 2023, and the price of housing in Walton County is still going up year over year, and the activity is down, granted, but the price of the homes are still going up. 1 year from now, if history repeats itself like it has been for the last many years, you should have a nice amount of equity. Now, it could go the other way because all of the talk about recession, it could go the other way, but I don't see it happening in Walton County because this place is on fire. But no one knows what the future holds, let's just say that. So now that we're talking about structural upgrades, let's think through that process, because structural upgrades can save you a lot of money in the end. It's much better to think through each structural upgrade and say, if I wanted that, would it be better for me to do it now during the building process or after? So for example, we are building a home in Nature Walk at Watersound Origins, as I mentioned, and it has a beautiful lanai and it's going to have a beautiful summer kitchen. However, we want to customize the summer kitchen, build it ourselves after construction is done. But in preparation for that summer kitchen, we are going to have them build a privacy wall where the summer kitchen will go. It will be plumbed with the natural gas for the grill, and it will have electrical and plumbing going to it. So all of those things will be built into the wall. which is the most expensive part of the process. And then we can put the cabinetry, the refrigerator, the grill in after the home is complete. But you want to think about things like, where do you want your hose bibs? Do you want to float a plug on the floor? Do you want to snake some wiring in case you decide you want to add sconces later on? So all of these things you have to think about. And it's much better to go through that process with somebody who has experience and can guide you through that, because you can really make some good selections on things that will save you money to do it during the process and things that don't matter. One other perfect example, when I was building a house once, I did not think about the hose bib. So I had a hose bib on one side of the house, and it was a very large house, and the other side of the house did not have a hose bib. So as long as I owned that house, because it was built on a slab and the hose bibs are placed when the slab is built, I had to have a long hose that went all through the bushes to the other side of the house. Never do that again. Never will I do that again. So there are a lot of things that you have to think about when it comes to that structure, especially if you're building on a slab. Getting back to the process, the next thing that'll happen after you've gone under contract is you will be called to go to the design center. And the design center is where you pick all your upgrades to your finishes, should you choose to have any upgrades. So when the base price of the home was configured, there were certain finishes put into that floor plan. Like it may be quartz countertops, certain faucets in your bathroom, the flooring was already chosen, the wall paint was already chosen, all of that stuff was already chosen, and that creates your base price. Now, when you go in the design center, you can upgrade any of these things you want. So if you want a more premium flooring, you don't like the flooring that they're going to put in there, or you want flooring throughout the entire home and you don't want any carpets in the bedroom, then that would be a upgrade in the design center. If they're just putting the basic 48 cabinets, but you wanted to go all the way to the ceiling with crown and maybe light the top cabinets and have glass in them, that would be a structural upgrade. One of the things I love to do is put drawers in all my bottom cabinets instead of cabinets. So that's just my thing. So I spend more of my money in the kitchen and the flooring. Those are the two things that I usually spend the most in. But you will go through this design center with a designer that they have on staff and pick out all of these. So if they have granite countertops, but you wanted quartz, then they'll have quartz for you, and they'll have 3 or 4, 10 different levels of quartz. And you can choose from those, and that will be, there'll be a price attached to that. If you want to do the additional taller cabinets, there'll be a price attached to that. If you want to change the paint colors, do some wood detail like shiplap, or add a barn door, all of these things you can do in the design center. So super fun there, but you can spend a lot of money. So really understand what comes. They will be able to give you the information that what comes with the base price of the house. What exactly do the faucets look like? Go look at the models and take your time and say, yes, I'm fine with that faucet. That faucet is fine. Now, this countertop, I'm not sure. So take the time to go through the model homes and look at the finishes that come with the base price of your home, and then that'll help you know ahead of time before you go to the design center what it is that's most important to you to upgrade. So those are all the things that affect the price of your home. Not to discourage you, but just eyes wide open, you need to know that that's how this process works. So it's super fun, but be sure you have a realtor, and we'll get on to the contract conversation. The contracting process for pre-construction homes is very, very different, as I mentioned, from a resale home. So it's usually it's always written, you have to use the builder's contract, and it's always written in their favor. So they have the standard language in all their contracts. You cannot edit that contract. You cannot change a thing. It is their contract and their way. And they are highly, highly written in favor of the builder, especially when it comes to closing costs. In a normal contracting situation in Florida, say the seller would pay the documentary stamps and the buyer would pay the title. That's just how the contract defaults. That's the way it goes. Those are the closing costs and how they're divided up. In new construction contract, not so much. New construction, it all goes on the side of the buyer. So it all falls to the buyer to do. So a good agent will try and help you negotiate. Now I say try because it depends depends on the climate, the financial climate, I'm saying. Depending on where we are with interest rates, if the builder has 500 people waiting to build a home there and a waiting list, then chances are you're not going to negotiate too many things. You can never negotiate the top line base price of that home. So whatever that published price on that floor plan is, that is non-negotiable. And the reason that's non-negotiable with builders is really makes common sense, because it's going to, if they decrease that price, it would devalue the other properties that they're building. So if they sell you that floor plan and it was $800,000 and they sell it to you for $750,000, then they're going to have to sell all the others for $750,000. So that's not going to happen. So they keep firm with their base price, but where you do have wiggle room is you can ask for credits for some of the updates. If you use their lender, you might get $10,000 towards your closing cost. You could ask them to throw in some credits for some of your structural upgrades. There are different things you can do just depending on the climate and what's happening. And a good real estate agent will be able to negotiate that for you if there is any wiggle room. They can say, you know, they really like the lot number so-and-so, but that $90,000 is a bit steep for them. They'll build the house, they'll sign today if we can get it for $70,000. So those are the kind of things that an agent can do. Or they really don't want any carpet in their house, but they don't want to pay to have the hardwoods put in all the bedrooms. So we could do a deal today if you can commit to giving us hardwoods throughout the house without an upgrade premium. So those are all the things that we can do if you, depending on the climate. Now there's one other thing that I want you to pay close attention to. Because of all of the stuff that's happened post-COVID, there are contractors who are building into their contracts a clause that gives them the flexibility to increase their price even after you're under contract. So if the supply costs go up, the subcontractors go up, so you may contract it for $800,000, the base price, and they may tell you at the end, oh, there's going to be an extra $25,000 because the supply chain problems or whatever it is. So we want to look for that clause. You want to look very carefully for that clause in any of these contracts that you sign with pre-construction post-COVID. Now, let's think about other things that you can do to this home. Like you may be thinking about building a pool and a hot tub, which is totally typical here, and most people do that in their homes in Florida. So you have two choices. You can work with the builder and work with his pool contractor. Usually meet with them when you do the design center. That's the time during the contracting process. But building a pool in your backyard, you have to think about a lot of things. So one of the things you want to think about is, if I do it with the builder, he can control all of the grading and all the support that is needed for that pool on that foundation. We are in Florida, there's lots of sand, there's a lot that goes into building here. So one of the things he can do is be responsible for prepping everything for that pool. So that's very important. The other thing that's very important, because you may find that it's going to cost you $125,000 to build your beautiful pool and hot tub with the contractor, but if you got a quote from a pool guy, a straight up pool guy, or pool company, they may tell you that we can do it for $75,000, and that's probably true. But there are all kinds of things that go into building a pool that the pool contractor may not be including in that price. So there's a lot to think about. Number one, they're not going to let you build that pool. The contractor is not going to let you build that pool until after you've closed on the home. So once you've closed on the home, if your two neighbors have closed on their home, how is the pool contractor going to get that equipment in there if it's one of these zero lot line neighborhoods? So how much space does a contractor have, and who owns that space? Does it have a right of way? Does it have any way to get into the backyard to bring that heavy equipment in to dig that pool? Because it won't be less expensive if somebody has to go dig that pool with minimum equipment. The other thing you have to think about is, where's all the pool equipment going to go? There are certain rules and regulations about having gutters over your lanai if it's so in a certain proximity to the pool. So there's a lot to think about building a pool. And so I would highly recommend you really think about doing it with your builder, even if it's going to cost more, because it may not cost more in the long run. Now, I know a lot of people go around that and do it themselves afterwards, but I've heard a lot of horror stories as well. So just an FYI about building your pool and hot tub in your backyard. So another thing we want to talk about is, I really encourage you to have a contingency plan in your closing date. Most all of these contractors' contracts say their be a clause in there that says that the contractor has the right to change closing. Even though it's set at a certain date, there are so many things. There is weather, there's supply issues, there's subcontractor issues, there are permitting issues. The county has to come out and do their inspections. There are so many things out of the control of the contractors. They always build in language to their contracts to allow them to change that closing date even up to the last minute. So you need a good contingency plan. So if you're renting a house, maybe when you get closer to the time, you could ask if you could do a month to month, even if you have to pay for an extra month that you're actually moving out during that month, but that gives you the security of having a roof over your head. If you're selling a house, you might consider writing in some wiggle room for turning over possession of the house. So maybe you could do a lease back for a month or two from the new buyers. That may be part of the negotiation, only to give yourself some breathing room. So in case the contractor has to put closing off, you don't have to move twice. And then, of course, I guess if neither one of those will work, you can make some arrangements for some temporary housing, maybe in a corporate housing, maybe you rent a condo. You've got to do something to have a contingency plan, because it is quite common to have that closing date change right at the last minute. Now, we are close to closing and we're all so excited, but during that building process, there are 2 inspections that I really think you need to think about. And you may have to get your agent to really push for these. The first one, well, the second one, they don't need to push for it. That's just really smart to do. But the first one is really smart to do too. So this is called pre-drywall construction. So in other words, they frame the house up, they put the plumbing in, they put the electrical in, they've got all their insulation where it's supposed to be, hopefully, and now they're ready to put the drywall up. Stop, time out. You want your your agent to say, hey, drywall's happening next week. I really think we need to get an inspector in there to look at everything before they sheetrock up those walls, because once they sheetrock up the walls, you have no visibility to any of that. So some builders do not like you to do this, but I highly encourage you to do it and stay on top of it, and don't let them sheetrock up those walls before that inspection happens. Now, it's time for closing and you're ready to do your final inspection. Now, I have had people say, we don't need to pay for another inspection. Why do we want to do that? The home warranties that come with these builders is great. I mean, we've got a great home warranty coming because it's a new build. But I'm telling you, it's easier to find out if there's a problem before you close, and it's much easier to get that problem corrected before you close, because you have the leverage then. So it is well worth it to do another inspection. So you may make a deal, or your agent could, with the inspector who does the pre-drywall and say, and then will you give us a discount when you come back to do the final? So that's what I would recommend. And I have found list of things wrong I didn't find them. The inspector found list of things wrong that were silly things, but it would have taken a lot of work to get them to do it after closing, the contractor, because they seem like silly things. But like weather stripping around your doors. We closed on a house and they had not put the weather stripping on any of the exterior doors. So if we had closed on that house and then called them up and asked them to do it, we would probably be standing in line. But because we found all of this out before closing, there were some insulation issues in the attic, and there was some wood that was touching the sand that was a problem for the termite guy because of termites. So you're not supposed to have wood touching the sand. So these are all the little things that an inspector will pick up. I wouldn't pick up, and probably you wouldn't pick up. So have that inspection done, and then you say, yes, we'd be happy to close as soon as you take care of this list. Now, of course, at the end, you're going to do a walkthrough right before closing, and you're going to have your roll of blue tape, and we'll go through and you'll put the tape everywhere you see a problem. So if there's a chip in the paint, or if there is, a missing electrical cover to the outlet, or wherever it is, you just put that blue tape there, and the contractor will come and do those things as well. So those are pretty much cosmetic, but they need to be done because it's a brand new house. So that is the process. And then you go to closing, and then you move in. So that's the process. I absolutely love working with people with new construction. I love new construction. I love building new construction. And I would love to work with you. So if you have any interest in new construction, Destin to 30A area, give me a call. I'd love to help you. If you are somewhere else in Florida and you just want the name of somebody that will help you, I have a network across the entire state. So give me a call and I will introduce you to someone that will take good care of you and has experience with new construction. So until next time, I hope to see you at the beach.